My name is Chief Amachi Peto Buaru. It's very important that I give you this video today. The video or the topic of discussion is, we're going to go ahead and start from the top there because I messed up. Okay? No, you don't have to stop it. Take two. My name is Chief Amachi Peto Buaru. I am the founder of IIKDS, the International Indigenous Knowledge and Development Society. The goal of our society is to preserve and to develop indigenous spiritual teachings and to preserve those teachings for future generations. The topic of discussion today is curses and generational curses and how to remedy those curses. But the first thing that we're going to need to deal with in order to really understand the complexity of this concept, we have to get certain definitions taken care of. So this is going to be a 5-minute video. However, I'm going to have to make extensions to give examples of the subject matter. So let me first start by saying curses. Many people talk about curses, but they really don't understand what a curse is. Let me explain. A curse has its foundation in the phenomena of a particular spiritual being or a spirit. Meaning, a curse is the direct phenomena that's caused by a spiritual being or entity or a mind or mentality that exists in nature. And it creates this phenomena, whether it's positive or negative. But since we're talking about curses, we can talk about some of the negative aspects. This is a curse. So this is the action or the phenomena created by certain spiritual beings. So you have a person that has done something that is disagreeable. They've put some type of spiritual action into place against someone to create specific phenomena. But let me explain something, because I think that curses are a little bit more complex than just the actions of an individual that may be benevolent or malevolent. What I want to explain here about curses is that there are certain generational issues that are affecting families spiritually, and this has created certain negative phenomena, negative things happen. And specifically here, I want to talk to sisters. I want to talk to the sisters in the community, because there are many of you that have gifts. You have these different abilities, whether they're the abilities to dream and to see, or to know things that will happen before they happen, or you've always had the ability to say certain things and then you see those things happen. There are many of you whose ancestors dealt with what we call the Wu Nonna, which are the gods of your ancestors that exist in nature. And in dealing with those entities and minds and spiritual beings, they stay within the bloodline. And they choose the most equipped generationally. They'll choose. And when they choose you, the symptoms of them choosing you will appear to be these gifts that will begin to manifest themselves. These are the abilities that maybe you experiencing certain dreams, or you experience some type of premonitions, or prophetic abilities, or some type of intuitive knowing that you somehow can't explain. How this ties into what I was talking about, curses or different spiritual beings that are following the bloodline, is that many of you sisters that have some of these abilities, you've seen these abilities as they moved through your family. Whether they're with your grandmother, whether they're even with your grandfather, your mother, your father, or even generationally down. Some of you may even be able to identify, oh yes, my grandmother or my grandfather or this person, my great grandmother or this. You can trace this behavior as it moves through your lineage and your family line. Yes. Well, what's happened here for many of you is that you've collected your family's Noli Wuni, or you've collected your family star, and it sits with many of you. But the problems that many of you have is that when these type of spirits follow you, you're unable to have a healthy relationship with a man. Many of you, you'll notice that the second you get in some type of relationship, something will happen to spoil that particular relationship. And you'll notice not only yourself, but then as you start to reflect back generationally, you'll look at some of the women that are in your family that even had some of these same gifts, and you'll notice that many of these women, they weren't able to keep long relationships, or their relationships were somewhat transient or temporary. And many of you desire love and connection, but for some reason, I'm sure many of you have noticed that when you get this, that your partners or the men that you're with actually begin to take from you and drain, and they progress and somehow get better, but you somehow become drained. And it's as if something has taken from you. Many of these things, by many, I've heard, they consider this a curse. And it may seem as if it is, because you exhibit monumentous spiritual abilities and gifts. However, when it comes to connection, love, and relationship, there's something that's missing. This is because those spirits that your ancestors were dealing with, that gave your ancestors certain powers and abilities, whether those powers and abilities were used in order to heal or to help the community, or the opposite, those powers or those spiritual beings still exist within the family and within you. And the symptoms of those spirits are these abilities that you have. The way that we remedy these issues is that you have to reconnect to the Wu No Nam, or the gods of your ancestors that exist in nature, because it's the reflection of those minds and mentalities that exist in nature, those mental beings, these spiritual beings, our ancestors, the gods of our ancestors that exist in nature. It's those beings that are following you, that are giving you those abilities, that are preventing you from coming together and having a relationship. And it's not until you remedy that, or you connect to that part of yourself that exists in nature that gives you those abilities, that you will be able to experience that peace that you're looking for. This is somewhat a generational and an ancestral curse, if you were to look at it that way, because so many of you have turned away from the way of your ancestors, or have turned away from your own identity, and in forgetting who you are and forgetting who you are connected to, You have forgot about some of the very essential aspects of your own identity that exists inside of nature. So the way that we remedy these issues as a bulana, or one who does the sacrifice, or tindanana, or one, a land king, or one who deals with the spiritual medicine, we have to connect you back to nature. And in essence, it's connecting you back to yourself, because it's the aspects or those abilities that you have which are the signs of those beings that walk with you. So in connecting you back to them, it will connect you strongly to the powers that you have that exist within inside of yourself. And in doing that, you will remedy the particular issue. We'll do a part 2 on this coming up soon.